The Church of England has unveiled a two-in-one wedding and baptism, seeking to make peace with families living in sin. The so-called hatch and match service allows couples to baptise their children after the wedding ceremony. Now, the aim is to encourage cohabiting parents to marry as the Church tries to become more relevant to the way people live their lives. With me now, Rev Nigel Ashworth, who's Rector of the City Centre parish. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, good to be here.
Nice to have you here. Do you think this is a good idea?
Well, I think we should really be saying to families, look, your child's baptism, at that service, your child is the big focus. So I don't think we should be mixing the child up with the parents' wedding.
So no, you don't think it's a good idea?
I don't think it's a particularly good idea, no.
So you're not preaching from the party line then, really, are you? Are you going to find disfavour with your colleagues for saying this? I mean, it's obviously a big thing that the Church of England announced to try and draw more people in, as you will?
I guess that most parish priests would actually think more or less the way I think. There might just be the very occasional moment when this was a good idea, but I can't really think of that. Even 2 weeks ago, a couple came and asked me about exactly this, and I said, look, your wedding, you know, that's your wedding. We've got to focus on what is happening to you there. It's your relationship, your lives together. When the child is going to be baptised, that's equally about him or her. So, you know, that's how it needs to be.
So you're worrying that it'll dilute the significance of either of the ceremonies, then?
It'll muddle it up. They're very different kinds of things.
How many people who have previously been cohabiting and have children want to get married these days? Because the theory is if you've already got children and you haven't got married, you're not very likely to, right?
You can't be so sure. I mean, a couple of years ago, not here, I conducted a wedding of a couple who'd been together for 25 years, and they'd got 3 teenage children.
So what swayed them to tie the knot, as it were?
Naturally, I wanted to know, you know, why are you doing this now? And actually, the wife, the bride, had always wanted it. The man had not really wanted it, and so she told me this, and he said, well, the fact is, he said, I've just grown up. That's what he said. We believe it's a good thing, not only for people to be committed to each other, they may be in a cohabiting relationship, but to be able to publicly and before God say, look, this is what we're doing, to take full responsibility for their lives together. And that will include, in due course, or even may have had already, children on the scene, and they need to be cared for as well. But it's not exactly the same thing. So
you place, understandably, great stay by the sanctity of marriage, and yet, in terms of financial benefit, you're better off being 2 single people under the current tax regulations, aren't you? You think the government should change that? Well, all the evidence is that children, and marriage does involve children in most cases, unless you're a very, very older couple, you know, you've met in your later years. All the evidence shows that children are better off with a father and a mother and a good, stable relationship that's committed, that's fully responsible, and where people can express their affection and their care for each other in a stable situation, which is marriage. And that is the only way to have a stable relationship where people express care and affection for each other? No, of course it's not, but it is a good way. Okay. And it is what we obviously believe in. What about the critics who are looking at this idea and saying, effectively, if you can get married and have your children before you get married and then baptise them, that the Church is saying children out of wedlock is OK? Look, Jesus uses a word for sin, and if I use the word sin from the pulpit, instantly everybody gets scared. I can see the hackles go up, you know. But Jesus uses a word which actually in the language of the New Testament is hamartia, and it means missing the mark. Now, you're telling me you don't miss the mark? I miss the mark all the time. St. Paul says, everyone has fallen short of the glory of God. We're just in the business of being real about human lives and yet bringing us towards the kind of sunshine of God's love and grace. That's what we all are about. And so it's about grace. It's not about condemning people and wagging the big finger. It's about welcoming them, encouraging them, loving them. But you're not expecting a great rush of people wanting to get married and have their children baptised at the same time? Well, I'm expecting that some will basically raise the subject, but I reckon most people in the end will say, yes, you're right. Very nice to have met you. Thank you for your time, Reverend. Very good to be here.